The scream ripped through the frostbitten air like a shattered wine glass, echoing off the brick walls of our Brooklyn walk-up as Jordan collapsed onto the fire escape, her body convulsing with sobs that sounded like they were clawing their way out from the depths of hell. I lunged forward, my boots slipping on the icy metal grate, heart slamming against my ribs like it wanted to burst free and drag me down with her, because in that split second, I knew. Whatever secret she'd buried under layers of laughter and late-night confessions had just clawed its way to the surface, and it was going to swallow us both whole. "Skylar," she gasped, her voice a ragged whisper swallowed by the howling wind. "I can't pretend anymore. I'm not who you think I am. And loving you is the only real thing I've ever had." I met Jordan on a sweltering August afternoon in 2022. The kind of heat wave that turns New York City into a pressure cooker of sweat-soaked dreams and shattered expectations. We'd both answered the same Craigslist ad for a roommate in a cramped two-bedroom in Bed-Stuy, cheap rent, questionable plumbing, but a fire escape with a view of the brownstones that made you forget the roaches for a minute. I was Skylar Hayes, 22. Fresh out of NYU with a film studies degree that felt about as useful as a screen door on a submarine, crashing on friends' couches while hustling barista gigs and auditioning for roles that never called back. She was Jordan Riley, 23. A barista/bartender with a laugh that could disarm a bomb and eyes like emeralds chipped from some forgotten Irish hillside, freckles dusting her nose, red hair that she swore was natural but I suspected came from a bottle of rebellion. Our first conversation was over lukewarm IPAs on that very fire escape, the sun dipping low and painting the skyline in hues of orange and regret. "So, what's your deal, Hayes?" she'd asked, propping her feet on the railing, her tank top clinging to her like a second skin. "You running from something? Or chasing it?" I'd smirked, hiding the knot in my stomach from another rejection email. "Both. Always both." "You," she shrugged, that enigmatic half-smile playing on her lips. "Just trying not to drown in this city. It's got teeth. You know, we clinked bottles. And that was it, sealed. Roommates. Friends. The kind who split Ubers at 2 a.m. after bad dates and binge-watch the L-Word reruns while debating if Shane was a villain or a vibe. Fall blurred into a rhythm of shared chaos. Mornings started with her blasting Hosier from the kitchenette, flipping pancakes that inevitably burned because she got lost in the lyrics, while I scrolled casting calls on my phone, coffee going cold. Evenings were ours. Trivia nights at the local dive where she'd crush pop culture rounds with trivia from her endless rotation of podcasts, or walks through Prospect Park where the leaves crunched under our sneakers like whispered secrets. Jordan had this way of making the ordinary electric, a brush of her hand against mine when passing the remote, a lingering gaze during movie marathons that left my pulse stuttering like a skipped frame. I told myself it was nothing. Just the low hum of city loneliness amplified by proximity. But late at night, when the apartment creaked like an old ship and she'd pad into my room in oversized tees that swallowed her frame, curling up at the foot of my bed to vent about a shitty shift, I'd catch myself tracing the curve of her shoulder in the moonlight, wondering what it would feel like to pull her closer. By Thanksgiving, the flirtation, if that's what it was, had woven itself into the fabric of our days. We skipped family drama for a potluck with our ragtag crew. My cousin Lena, a no-nonsense lawyer with a buzz cut and a mouth like a stevedore. Marcus, Jordan's coworker from the bar, a non-binary artist who painted murals that made you question reality. We roasted a turkey in our oven that barely fit, stuffing the bird with sage and secrets. Jordan and I ended up elbow-deep in pie crust, flour dusting our cheeks like fresh snow. "You're terrible at this," I teased, swiping a thumb across her nose to wipe away a smudge. my touch lingering a beat too long. Her green eyes locked on mine. Something unspoken flickering there, heat, hunger, hesitation. Maybe I need a better teacher, she murmured, voice low and laced with that Brooklyn edge. The room spun for a second, the air thick with cinnamon and possibility. But then Marcus hollered about the cranberry sauce boiling over. And the moment shattered like cheap glass. Winter crept in like an uninvited guest, blanketing the city in gray skies and a chill that seeped into your bones. December brought holiday lights strung like desperate prayers across the avenues, and with them, the first cracks in Jordan's armor. She'd always been the steady one, quick with a joke when my auditions tanked, dragging me to open mics where I'd butcher monologues but she'd cheer like I'd won an Oscar. But that month, she started vanishing. Shifts at the bar stretched into all-nighters she blamed on slow pours and chatty drunks, and when she stumbled home at dawn, her eyes were hollow, makeup smudged like war paint from battles she wouldn't name. "You okay?" I'd ask, brewing her chamomile in our chipped mugs. She'd nod too fast, forcing that smile. "Peachy. Sky. Just the holidays. You know? Family bullshit." Her folks were back in Boston, absentee types, she said. The kind who sent checks but not calls. I didn't push. Boundaries were sacred in our little world. New Year's Eve sealed the shift. We rang in 2023 at a warehouse party in Bushwick. Bass thumping through our veins like second heartbeats. Bodies slick with sweat under strobe lights that turned strangers into shadows. Jordan was electric that night. Red dress hugging her curves. Hair wild. Pulling me onto the dance floor where our hips swayed in sync. Her breath hot against my neck as we moved. "This year's ours," she shouted over the roar. Her hand slipping into mine. Fingers interlacing like puzzle pieces long lost. Midnight struck. Confetti raining down like filthy snow. And in the crush, she kissed me. Not a peck. Not a dare, a full, searing press of lips that tasted like tequila and tomorrow. Her body arching into mine as the crowd blurred away. Fireworks exploded outside. But inside, it was us. My hands in her hair. Her nails digging into my waist. A promise forged in the chaos. The morning after, tangled in my sheets with sunlight slicing through the blinds, she traced lazy circles on my collarbone. "Skylar," she whispered, voice thick with sleep and something heavier. "That wasn't just the ball drop, was it?" I shook my head, pulling her closer, our legs entwining like roots. "No. It's us." Finally, we spent the day in bed, mapping each other with tentative touches, soft kisses that deepened into explorations, laughter bubbling up when we'd fumble or tickle by accident. Felt like coming home. Like the city had been holding its breath for this. Jordan was tender, reverent, her freckles blooming under my lips like constellations I wanted to chart forever. "I've wanted this since that first beer," she confessed, her head on my chest, heartbeat syncing with mine. "You make me feel seen." January thawed the ice between us, but not without its undercurrents. Our routine evolved, stolen moments in the shower, her soaping my back with hands that lingered, lazy Sundays cooking brunch, feeding each other bites of eggs Benedict while stealing kisses over mimosas. I landed a gig, costume assistant on an indie flick shooting in the village, and came home buzzing, only to find her waiting with takeout from our favorite Thai spot, eyes lighting up like she won the lottery. "Tell me everything," she'd demand, pulling me onto the couch, our bodies fitting like they were made for it. But shadows lingered. She'd flinch at loud noises, like the super banging pipes below, And once, when my phone buzzed with a call from my mom asking about bringing a girl home, Jordan went rigid, excusing herself to the fire escape for a smoke she swore she'd quit. I chalked it up to the weight of coming out or whatever this was. My family was cool. Dad had teared up at my prom date story back in high school. Mom sent rainbow flags every Pride. Jordan's silences felt deeper, though, like echoes from a well she wouldn't let me peer into. One night, after a particularly grueling day on set, director screaming about hemlines, I vented over pizza, grease staining our fingers. It's like they see you as the help, not the artist. She nodded, but her gaze drifted to the window. Snow flurries starting to dust the sill. Yeah. People see what they want. Or what they fear. I reached for her hand, but she pulled back, standing abruptly. I need air. The door clicked shut behind her, leaving me with cold slices and a colder dread. By mid-February, the romance had deepened into something visceral, a love that pulsed with the city's heartbeat. We whispered I love yous in the dark, her head on my pillow, red strands fanning across the white like spilled wine. I planned a surprise weekend in the Catskills, cabin rental. No signal. Just us in the woods, but she canceled last minute, citing a family emergency that dissolved into vague texts about her aunt's flu. Lies tasted bitter, even unspoken, but I swallowed them for the sake of the warmth we built. Until that night. Valentine's Day. Actually ironic. In retrospect, I'd scored tickets to a queer poetry slam in the East Village, reciting lines about fractured hearts under dim lights. Jordan showed up late, disheveled, nursing a black eye she dismissed as bumping into a door at work. My stomach twisted. Bullshit. Who did this? She waved it off. But her eyes, those green beacons, were storms brewing. We fought on the walk home, words slicing through the February chill like knives. You don't get it, Sky. Not everything's a plot twist you can rewrite, she snapped, huddling into her coat. Then tell me. Let me in. I grabbed her arm, desperation clawing at my throat. She yanked free, tears freezing on her lashes. You think love fixes everything? Doesn't. Just breaks harder. We slammed into the apartment, silence thicker than the snow piling outside. Crashed on the couch, replaying her flinches, the bruises blooming like ugly flowers. Dawn broke with her note on the fridge. Went for a run. Love you. Sorry. But she didn't come back until evening. And when she did, it was with takeout and apologies, curling into me like a lifeline. It's nothing. Old ghosts. We made love that night. Slow and aching, her body trembling under mine as if she were unraveling thread by thread. March arrived with false springs, daffodils pushing through slush. But the cold snapped back, mirroring the fracture lines in us. My film wrapped, checks deposited, dreams inching closer. Jordan's shifts blurred into mystery. She'd come home reeking of not just beer, but something sharper, fear. Maybe. One evening, rifling for clean socks in her drawer, I found it, a crumpled letter from a Boston law firm. Words like restraining order and violation jumping out like accusations. My blood ran cold. Was this the family bullshit? An ex? I shoved it back. Heart pounding, trust was our currency, and I wasn't ready to counterfeit it. The party was her idea, a low-key thing for my birthday. Early April. Cherry blossoms tentative on the branches outside. Our crew showed. Lena with her signature gin and tonics. Marcus with a canvas painted in swirling purples that screamed, us. Jordan was on fire mixing drinks, her laugh ringing like bells, pulling me into dances in our tiny living room. But as the night wore on, whiskey loosening tongues, she grew distant, nursing a beer in the corner while eyes followed her. A guy from the bar, tall, with a smirk like oil, cornered her by the kitchen, his hand on her elbow too tight. Missed you last night, babe, he slurred, loud enough for the room to catch. Jordan paled, wrenching free. Fuck off, Derek. The air thickened. Lena shot me a look, but I was frozen. Pieces clicking, the black eye, the vanishings, the flinches. He laughed, ugly and mean. Playing house with the roommate? Cute. But we both know where your leash is. The room erupted, Marcus shoving him toward the door. Lena barking threats, but Jordan bolted, coat half on, out into the night. I chased her, feet pounding pavement slick with rain, until I caught her on the fire escape, the one that had witnessed our first beers and midnight confessions. She was shaking, not from cold, but sobs that racked her frame. Skylar, go back, please. I climbed up, pulling her into my arms. No. Talk to me. Her walls crumbled then, words tumbling out in a torrent. Derek wasn't an ex, he was her brother. The bruises? From him. And worse, from their father. A cop with fists like justice served cold. The letter? A failed escape years ago, when she'd run to the city, only for him to track her down, drag her back for family therapy. That was just more beatings. I'm not out to them, she whispered, voice breaking. They don't know. About me. About us. And Derek, he uses it. Threatens to tell if I don't. Cover for him. His debts. His dealers. It's why I send money home. Why I lie. Rage boiled in me. Hot and helpless. We go to the cops. Now, she laughed, bitter as black coffee. Cops? My dad's one. They'd bury it. We held each other as thunder rumbled, rain sheeting down, washing away pretenses. That night, we plotted real plans, not dreams. Lena knew a lawyer. Marcus had connections to shelters. Love wasn't just kisses anymore, it was armor, forged in the fire of her truth. But truths have teeth. A week later, Derek showed up at the bar, or so Jordan's frantic text read. He's here. Wants money. Don't come. I came anyway, bursting through the door to find her cornered in the alley, his fist raised. Time slowed. I screamed. Lunge. Nails raking his arm as he swung wild. Chaos, sirens wailing. Bouncer hauling him off. Jordan collapsing against the dumpster. Blood on her lip. Hospital lights buzzed overhead as they stitched her up. My hand in hers. Whispering promises. We're done hiding. Together. She nodded. Eyes fierce. Together. Summer bloomed. Tentative and tender. We moved new apartment in Crown Heights. Locks changed. Therapy sessions twice a week. Jordan's smile returned. Genuine now. Laced with the strength of survivors. My auditions picked up. A short film lead. Her cheering loudest. Love deepened. Roots sinking into soil enriched by scars. But autumn whispered warnings. Derek out on bail. Letters from Boston laced with venom. The winter night that changed everything came unannounced. Snow whipping like furies on December 21st. It started with a phone call at dusk. The kind that slices through holiday cheer like a dull knife. Jordan was at the stove, stirring mulled wine that filled our new place with cinnamon and cloves. Her hair tied back in a messy bun. Apron smeared with flour from the gingerbread we'd burned earlier. I was untangling Christmas lights on the floor, cursing under my breath, when her ringtone, some indie folk tune about lost roads, cut the air. She glanced at the screen, face draining of color. "It's nothing," she muttered, but her voice cracked like thin ice. She stepped into the bedroom, door clicking shut, but walls are thin in Brooklyn brownstones, and fragments leaked through. "Dad, please." "No, I can't." "Derek's lying. You know that." I froze. Lights forgotten. A knot of dread coiling in my gut. When she emerged, eyes red-rimmed but smile plastered on, I couldn't pretend. "What was that?" She busied herself with the wine, pouring too full, spilling red drops like blood on the counter. "Family." The usual guilt trip about not coming home for Christmas. Lies hung heavy. We'd planned a quiet holiday. Just us. String lights and Elf on repeat. But her hands trembled as she handed me a mug. Steam rising like ghosts. "Sky. It's fine." "Really?" I pulled her close, inhaling the vanilla of her shampoo mixed with the sharp tang of fear. "You're shaking." She buried her face in my neck, whispering, "I just miss the idea of them sometimes." The before. We made love on the rug that night. Slow and salvaging. Bodies a bulwark against the storm brewing outside. The next days blurred into a fragile normalcy. My short film premiered at a tiny theater in Williamsburg. Standing ovation. Critics buzzing about raw authenticity in my portrayal of a queer woman unraveling under family gaze. Jordan was there. Front row. Her applause the loudest echo in my soul. Post-party. We stumbled home buzzed on cheap champagne, shedding coats and inhibitions in the hallway. "You're a star." "Haze," she murmured against my skin, fingers tracing the tattoo on my ribcage. A compass rose for directions unknown. "And you're my north," I replied, lifting her onto the kitchen table. Dishes clattering to the floor in our haste. It was fervent, reclaiming her gasps filling the room as snow tapped the window like impatient fingers. But the call lingered. A specter. By the 20th, Derek's text started. Burner numbers. Vitriolic spew about betraying the family, and that dyke whore you're shacking up with. Jordan deleted them, but I saw the screenshot she'd hidden in her notes app. Threats of showing up. Of making her pay. We beefed up security, new deadbolts. Pepper spray in purses. Lena's contact on speed dial. "He's bluffing," Jordan insisted. But her sleep fractured into nightmares. Waking sweat-soaked and screaming. I'd hold her then, rocking like a child, murmuring, "I've got you." Always. Therapy helped her counselor. A soft-spoken Latina with tattoos peeking from her sleeves, unpacking the abuse like fragile artifacts. "You're not your father's daughter anymore," she'd say. Jordan nodded, but doubt clung like damp wool. Christmas Eve dawned brittle. Skies leaden with promise of snow. We exchanged gifts by the tree, a scrawny thing we decorated with popcorn strings and ornaments from thrift shops. I gave her a locket with our photo from the poetry slam. Her mid-recital. Fierce and free. She gave me a screenplay she'd written in secret. Fire Escape Hearts. About two women forging love from ashes. It's us, she said shyly, cheeks flushing. Tears pricked my eyes. It was brilliant. A mirror to our mess. We cooked roast chicken, mashed potatoes swimming in gravy, and toasted with eggnog spiked heavy. Laughter flowed, but undercurrents pulled. Her glances at the door, my hand never far from my phone. Midnight mass on TV droned in the background when the knock came, sharp, insistent, like knuckles on bone. Jordan went rigid beside me on the couch. Ignore it. But it persisted, morphing into pounding. I peered through the peephole. Derek, snow-dusted and wild-eyed, breath fogging the hall light. Open up. Jordy, Dad sent me to bring you home. Panic surged. I barricaded the door with the side table, dialing 911 with shaking fingers. Intruder. Possible assault. His voice slurred through the wood. You think you can run? Spread your legs for that nigger bitch and forget blood. Rage blinded me. I screamed back. Fuck you. Get the hell away. Sirens wailed distant, then near. Blue lights strobing our window. Cops hauled him off again, but not before he spat on our doorstep. A promise of return. Jordan shattered then, sliding down the wall in a heap, hyperventilating. I knelt, cradling her. Breathe, baby. It's over. But her eyes were vacant. Voice a monotone. It's never over. He's in me. They all are. We didn't sleep. Instead, confessions poured. Beatings disguised as discipline. Her mother's silence a complicit shroud. The night she'd come out to them at 19. Slapped so hard her earring tore through her lobe. Disowned with a finality that echoed in empty rooms. I thought the city would fix me. You fixed me. Sobs racked her. I held tighter. My own tears silent. Dawn crept in, gray and unforgiving. As we bundled up for a walk, clear our heads, reclaim the streets. The park was a winter wonderland. Paths crunching under boots, breath clouding like speech bubbles of unspoken fears. We sat on a bench overlooking the frozen pond, mittened hands linked. What if we leave? I ventured. LA? Your film dreams. My writing. Start fresh. Her smile was wistful. And run forever? No. I want to fight. For us. Hope flickered, fragile as the first snowflake that melted on her lash. We kissed there. Salt and sweetness. The world narrowing to her warmth against the cold. But Derek's arrest cracked open floodgates. News trickled, Dad pulling strings. Charges dropped for insufficient evidence. A letter arrived 2 days later, Boston postmark. Her father's scrawl. Come home. Or we disown you for good. Blood's thicker. Jordan crumpled it, hurling it into the trash. But the poison seeped. She withdrew. Cancelled therapy. Picked fights over nothing. My late nights editing reels. The way I left dishes in the sink. You're always gone, she'd yell. Voice laced with hurt. Because I have to work. For us. I'd retort. Slamming out to the fire escape. Cigarettes I bummed from neighbors burning my lungs like regret. New Year's loomed. A mocking milestone. We tried salvaging it. A quiet dinner at our spot. Dim sum steaming under red lanterns in Chinatown. But midway through dumplings, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Video attachment. She clicked play. Face ashen, grainy footage of us. That first kiss at the warehouse party. Timestamped and tagged with slurs. They know, she whispered. Fork clattering. Derek sent it. To everyone. Mom? Dad. The whole fucking clan. Nausea hit. I flagged the waiter for the check. Bundled her out into the throng. The walk home was silent. Snow starting to fall in fat. Relentless flakes. Sticking to our scarves like accusations. Back in the apartment. She paced. Fury and fear warring on her face. I can't do this. Sky. The looks. The whispers, it's high school all over again. But worse. With you in the crosshairs. I blocked her path. Hands on her shoulders. We face it. Together. You're not alone. She searched my eyes. Desperation raw. What if I drag you down? What if loving me destroys you? The question hung. A guillotine blade. I kissed her then. Fierce and unyielding. Then we burned bright falling. We tumbled to bed. Making desperate love, nails raking backs. Moans mingling with sobs. Reclaiming agency in the only way we knew. Afterward. Bent and sticky. She traced my spine. Promise me. If it gets bad, you'll walk. I lied through my teeth. Never. January bit hard. Winds howling like banshees off the East River. Jordan's bar job fired her. Distractions, they said. But we knew. Whispers from Derek's cronies. Customers side-eyeing the troublemaker. She spiraled. Holing up with her screenplay revisions. Pages littered like fallen leaves. I pushed additions. Landed callbacks. But callbacks don't pay rent. Tension simmered. Arguments over money. Over her smoking again. Over the elephant of her family's shadow. Call them, I'd urge. End it clean. She'd laugh. Hollow. Clean? Blood doesn't wash off. The breaking point brewed mid-month. A summons arriving, certified mail from Boston. Demanding her presence for a family reconciliation, or face legal cuts to her trust fund, the one ironic lifeline from absentee parents. She stared at it for hours, then torched it in the sink. Flames dancing like demons. Fuck their money. Fuck them. But the act felt performative. That night, she slipped out while I slept, leaving a note, need space. Back soon. Love you. Dawn found me frantic. Texts unread. Calls to voicemail. Lena's network buzzed. Sightings at Penn Station. But no trace. Panic clawed. I paced our apartment. Her scent on pillows a torment. By noon. A text on a train. Don't follow. Follow. Like hell. I bolted to the station. Platform crowded with commuters fleeing the cold. There, her red hair under a beanie. Boarding the Acela. Face set like stone. Jordan, I yelled. Shoving through. She turned. Eyes widening. But the doors hissed shut. Whisking her north. I collapsed on a bench. Tears hot. Dialing her as the train vanished. Voicemail. Come back. Please. Whatever it is. We do it together. Hours ticked like bombs. Evening brought radio silence. Then a call from her mother. Voice syrupy with concern. Skylar? Jordan's here. Upset. Says you too. Well, you know. Come talk sense into her. Trap? Maybe. But love's a fool's errand. I booked the next train. Hurtling through darkening countryside. Snow blanketing fields like shrouds. Boston greeted me with sleet and suspicion. Her family's McMansion in the suburbs. All colonial facade hiding rot. They met me at the door, Mom. Brittle blonde with pearls and pity. Dad. barrel-chested in flannel, eyes like Derek's cold steel. She's resting, Mom said, ushering me to a parlor stiff with antiques. This phase. It's the city. The friends. We can fix it. Fix it. Rage simmered. Jordan appeared then, pale in pajamas, escorted like a prisoner. Our eyes met, hers pleading go, mine screaming stay. Sky. You shouldn't. I love you, I cut in. Voice steady. That's not a phase. Dad snorted. Delusional. She's family. Not your plaything. Mom cooed. Therapy. Dear. Conversions come far. Horror iced my veins. Jordan wrenched free, grabbing my hand. Stop. I'm gay. Happy. With her. Chaos erupted, Dad lunging. Mom shrieking. Jordan shoving me toward the door. Run. We fled into the night. Sleet stinging. Stealing her beat-up Civic from the drive. Tires spun on ice as we peeled out. Sirens in the distance. Imagination. Maybe. Southbound on a 95. Wipers slapping rhythm. She broke. I'm sorry. I thought. Facing them alone would end it. I gripped the wheel. Other hand on her knee. Never alone. Dawn broke over Connecticut. Motels dotting the highway. We holed up in one cheap neon. Bed sagging, but ours. Sanctuary. There. In threadbare sheets. We rebuilt. Whispers of futures. Plans for lawyers. For leaving the East Coast ghosts behind. L.A., she murmured. Head on my chest. L.A., I agreed. Kissing her temple. February thawed us slowly. Back in Brooklyn. We lawyered up, restraining orders renewed. Therapy rebooted. My film hit festivals. Offers trickling. Jordan queried agents for her script. Rejection stealing her spine. Love matured. Less wildfire. More hearth, quiet dinners. Walks where hands swung free. Unashamed. But scars itched. Her nightmares. My hypervigilance. Spring hinted, crocuses in planters. Longer days, but winter's tail lashed one last time. March 15th. A call from Lena. Derek skipping bail. Headed your way. Dread pooled. We boarded windows. Stock supplies. But he came not with fists. But cunning. A package left at our stoop. No return address. Inside photos, us kissing. Making love through cracked blinds. Caption family secrets die hard. Nausea. Jordan retched in the sink. I burned them in the tub. Flames devouring evidence. He's breaking me, she sobbed. No, I fierce whispered. Cupping her face. He's losing. We win by living. The climax brewed that final winter night. December's echo in March's chill. Snow unexpected. Dumping inches by hour. We'd planned escape. U-Haul booked for a dawn drive to Philly. Pit stop to freedom. But Derek's text pinged at 11 p.m., outside. Last chance. Heart hammering. I peered him on the sidewalk. Flask in hand. Eyes gleaming mad. Jordan froze beside me. Don't. But fury propelled me down. Coatless into the flurry. Leave. Now. He sneered. Stepping close. Breath whiskey rotten. Or what? Your little love story ends in headlines. Fist raised, I dodged. Slipping on ice. Head cracking pavement. Stars burst. Then heard Jordan charging. tackling him into snowbank. Screams raw. Get off her. Neighbors spilled out. Phones flashing. Cops arrived to cuffs in chaos. I staggered up, blood warm on my temple, pulling her from the fray. You saved me. She trembled. Snow in her lashes. We save each other. Ambulance ride. Stitches for me. Blanket for her soul. Derek hauled away, real charges this time. Assault on record. Spring unfurled like a hesitant exhale. Cherry blossoms carpeting sidewalks in pink defiance, mocking the winter that had nearly buried us. April brought verdant shoots through cracked concrete, mirroring the tentative regrowth in Jordan's eyes, less shadowed, more sunlight dappled. We didn't flee to Philly. Instead, we rooted deeper in Brooklyn, subletting our place to Marcus while crashing at Lena's sprawling loft in Fort Greene. Family's what you make, she grunted, tossing us keys. Her buzz cut a beacon of unyielding support. Days blurred into healing. Joint therapy where we'd unpack Derek's venom like hazardous waste. Her script gaining traction with a small production company scouting queer voices. My agent calling with a pilot audition. Recurring role on a Netflix drama about broken families mending crooked. Love, in the aftermath, was quieter alchemy, transmuting pain into gold-flecked intimacy. Mornings found us tangled in Lena's guest bed. Sunlight slanting through blinds to paint her freckles like cinnamon dust. Coffee? She'd mumble. Voice husky from sleep. And I'd pull her back. Kisses lazy and lingering. Hands rediscovering curves as if for the first time. 5 more minutes, I'd bargain. Her laughter vibrating against my skin like a secret hum. Evenings were rituals. Farmers' market halls turned into picnics in the park. Her head on my lap as I read lines aloud. Feedback sharp but kind. Lean into the vulnerability. Sky. Like you do with me. Vulnerability was our new language. Spoken in confessions over gelato. Her fear of abandonment. Rooted in that Boston night when Dad's slap echoed louder than her coming out plea. My terror of loss. Etched from watching Mom battle cancer in silence during my teens. Too young to fight the Reaper. May swelled with milestones. Jordan's screenplay optioned, low 6 figures. Enough for a down payment on a 1-bedroom in Ditmas Park. Brownstones whispering of stability. We toured it on a sun-drenched afternoon, creaky floors. A bay window overlooking community gardens. Fire escape begging for planters and memories. Hours, she breathed. Spinning me in the empty living room. Skirt flaring like a promise. That night. Celebration dinner at a rooftop spot in Williamsburg. Craft cocktails sweating condensation. Skyline twinkling like approval. To fire escapes and fresh starts, I toasted. Clinking her glass. Her green eyes sparkled. Mischief curling her lips. And to roommates who became everything. Under the table. Her foot traced my calf. Heat building like summer thunder. But healing isn't linear. Ghosts lurk in sunlit corners. Derek's trial loomed in June. Assault charges. Violation of order. A parade of witnesses from that snowy fray. Jordan testified first. Voice steady on the stand. Recounting years of bruises hidden under long sleeves. The threats that chained her closer than any lock. He didn't just hit me, she said. Eyes locking on the judge. He tried to erase me. But I won't let him. The courtroom held its breath. I sat front row. Hand clenched in Lena's. Pride swelling fierce. Derek glowered from the defense table. But cracks showed. His swagger eroded by evidence. Her words a scalpel dissecting his control. Dad didn't show. Mom sent a curt email. Prayers for reconciliation. Jordan deleted it unread, choosing us over Echoes. Verdict dropped mid-trial, guilty. 5 years with parole eligibility after 3. We learned via text from the Jordan mid-rehearsal for a playwright's workshop. Me on set for a table read. She burst into frame during my Zoom call back, tears streaming, tackling me in a hug that toppled chairs. It's over. He's gone. Laughter bubbled through sobs. The director chuckled. Method acting? I like it. We celebrated that night with our crew, Lena grilling ribs on her fire escape, Marcus unveiling a mural of 2 women entwined in vines. Unbreakable. Toasts rang to justice. Jagged but served to love. The quiet revolution. Summer scorched in. Humidity wrapping the city like a damp embrace. Our new place filled slowly, bookshelves groaning under Jordan's dog-eared classics. My scripts pinned to a corkboard like battle maps. Nights hummed with creation, her typing furiously at the desk. Red hair glowing under lamp, while I paced, blocking scenes in the mirror. Intimacy wove through it, pausing to pull her onto the rug. Dresses hiked, breath sinking in the AC's hum, or her surprising me post-shower. Towel dropping as she knelt. Worship slow and thorough. Green eyes holding mine until I shattered. You're my muse, I'd gasp. Fingers in her waves. And you're my anchor, she'd reply, curling into me after. Skin sticky sweet. Yet, the humanistic ache lingered, not in Derek's absence, but in the voids he carved. Jordan's calls home ceased entirely. A birthday card arrived once, and sign check enclosed, which she shredded with glee. Blood's optional, she declared. But late nights, I'd wake to her staring at the ceiling, ghosts flickering. What if they change, she'd whisper. Want me back? I'd pull her close. Then they earn it. But you? You're whole now. Therapy echoed that. Forgiveness not for them, but for her freedom. She wrote a one-act about it, Shatterlines, premiering at a queer theater fest in July. Sold-out crowd weeping as the protagonist burned her family photos. Rising phoenix-like. Post-show. Bouquet in hand. I found her backstage. Makeup streaked. You slayed. Kiss swollen with pride. We fucked against the dressing room door. Quick and conquering. Her moans muffled in my neck. August cooled the fever. Back to school buzz filling streets with possibility. My pilot greenlit, co-lead as a fierce attorney navigating love and legacy, filming slated for fall in LA. But remote options bought time. Jordan landed a fellowship, screenwriting incubator in the Hudson Valley. Weekends away but commuting home. No more running solo, she promised, packing her duffel with my hoodie for scent. Distance tested us, late-night FaceTimes where pixels couldn't capture her freckles. Texts laced with longing. Miss your hands. Hurry home. Reunions were fire. Her train pulling in. Me waiting with coffee and hunger. Barely making the cab before hands roamed under seats. Fall gilded the edges, leaves aflame. Air crisp with cider and change. We hosted Thanksgiving in our brownstone. Table groaning under turkey and Lena's mac and cheese. Marcus's vegan pie a sweet counterpoint. No family drama, just us. Chosen kin. Stories swapping like currency. Jordan carved the bird. Knife steady. A metaphor unspoken. To abundance, she toasted. Eyes on mine. Green depths warm. Later. Dishes soaking. We slipped to the fire escape. First snow flurries dusting rails. City lights winking below. Remember that night, she murmured. Back to my chest. My arms banding her waist. The scream. The truth. I nuzzled her neck. How could I forget? It made us. Winter's approach stirred old chills. But we armored differently now, holiday cards to friends. Not foes. A trip planned to Big Sur for New Year's. Redwoods and waves washing clean. December 21st anniversary. 1 year since the fire escape fracture. We recreated it gently, mulled wine steaming. Her in that red dress from the warehouse. Me slow dancing her across the living room. You changed everything, I whispered. Vinyl crooning low. She cupped my face. Thumb tracing my lip. No. You saw me. Whole. Lovemaking followed. Unhurried sacrament. Candles guttering. Bodies a litany of I love yous. Climax cresting like waves on that future California shore. Yet, the story's humanism lies not in triumph's gloss, but the quiet truths etched beneath, betrayal's sting from blood kin. Not lovers, emotion's depth and vulnerability shared. Romance's romance in the mundane, her burning toast, my off-key singing in the shower. We weren't fixed. Flawless, we were mended. Mosaic strong. Cracks gilded by choice. Derek's shadow? Faded to footnote. His appeals denied. Prison a distant hum. Her parents? A Christmas olive branch letter. Not check. Words halting, we were wrong. Doors open. If you want. Jordan read it aloud. Voice even. Then folded it away. Maybe someday. For me? Not them. I nodded. Pride swelling, no rush. No force. Healing's pace is hers. By spring 2024, we'd bloomed. My series Emmy buzzed. Her feature directorial debut greenlit. Fire Escape Hearts. Us as producers. Life wasn't cinematic montage, but real reels, fights over remote control. Lazy Sundays in bed till noon. Her proposing on that fire escape with a ring carved from reclaimed wood. Marry me. Skylar Hayes. Let's make forever our plot twist. Tears. Yes, kiss. Fervent. Answer. Roared to the stars. Hell yes. And so, in America's vast tapestry, Brooklyn's grit to Hollywood's gleam, we wove our thread, two women. Scarred but soaring. Love a rebellion soft as snowfall. Fierce as dawn. Her truth? Bigger than friendship. Yes, but in the end, bound us. Unbreakable.